So let's take some questions. I like questions. What do you guys got?
Hey everybody, it's Dave. I'm back with an F10 accelerated startup. It's the first time we've looked at this today. It's EnterpriseBot with Ravina and Pranay, and I'd like them to introduce themselves. So basically, Giorgio's back with me. We're scouting startups in the fintech space to see if it fits the white spots so we can validate hypotheses quicker, which sounds scientific because it is the scientific method of trying to do innovation at a big bank. Where we are today, if you want to pan a little bit, Phil, is I am really excited about this. We're at the YouTube space in London, and they let us in because Nick has more than 10,000 followers and subscribers. And what that means is, for me, this is about new content distribution. You know, with MakerZone, I'm exposing what we're doing in an innovation context, in a wealth management environment, and I really show what we're working on. This isn't fake, this isn't scripted. I've heard from people, how do you script that? It's great. I'm like, we never scripted a single thing yet. And the beautiful thing about YouTube is it's the same. So TV studios, basically, they're dying, and this is the future right here. So we're in the future. So welcome to the future. Do you want to say hi, Pranay?
Absolutely. Hi everyone, I'm Pranay. I'm the nerd of the office, and I'm the CEO.
Hello everyone, I'm Ravina. I'm a co-founder as well, and I'm the people person. I head our marketing operations.
Yeah, so let's take a look at EnterpriseBot, because for me, bots is the flavor of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a bot since Facebook opened up its dev kit.
Yep.
Giorgio had a couple bots within a week.
Cool.
So I thought it would be a good exchange between us. What have you got? Show us the problem.
Absolutely. So I think bots are just more than the flavor. I think they're the future. The reason for that is, imagine if you don't have to just wait on the phone, waiting like 5-10 minutes, or just like going through the IVR, dialing God knows how many numbers before you can actually speak to someone. Instead, it's so simple, like, hey, can you block my card?
So yeah, just a little background. We've been focused on the financial industry. So we've got a lot of ontology, a lot of data in this field.
So what it's done is, not only is it understood that you want to block it,
mean?
ontology basically is how exactly are certain words correlated with other words, and creating that entire connection so that you can actually basically, how does a computer really understand something? At the end of the day, it's all ones and zeros for the computer.
So like, if somebody
it's going to look
says
at patterns.
learning to you and ontology, is it the same or is it something different? What's the difference?
So ontology trees are basically connections that the computer is really looking, and it's like features that it's kind of connecting, and it's how it's understanding things, because it's all ones and zeros. So it's basically creating those patterns. Ontology is basically the how concept A is equal to B is equal to C, or at least they're closely related. And that basically helps the computer understand.
Either of you studied that in school, or did you come from completely different
backgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I've been more focused on business and marketing, like I said, and Pranay's been a little bit more on the
Economics,
tech
finance, tech, but
Both
AI.
business finance guys, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you make this bridge to do a startup?
4 years ago, I basically got very interested in the AI space, and I started reading up as much as I could about it. As I said, I was a nerd. Got into AI, met Sandeep, who's our CTO. Between both of us, so he has already about 10 years experience in machine learning and AI, because he's been doing this with
So there's three of
Wipro.
you
That's
from
three
the
of
start?
us.
Or was it
Absolutely.
two guys in a garage and then you came after, or like how did it?
Pranay and I know each other for a long time, and we made a price comparison engine back in college, and that was basically to just save some money on textbooks. So I was always interested in the tech bit, and then when Pranay and Sandeep and these guys, we actually have a team of over 10 people back in India.
Wow.
So yeah, when they came up with the idea, I was one of the...
But it's not mathematics, is it?
It's not
It's a
mathematics.
completely different specialty.
It's, to a certain extent, mathematics drives it, because if you see machine learning and deep learning,
Ones and zeros.
algos are basically what drive them. But when you're actually working with it, you don't need to worry that much about the algorithms, except if you want to start changing a lot of that. It's more about how can you use that? How can you basically feed it the right data? How can you basically create those connections? That's where it comes down to.
An algorithm is the favorite word of everyone this year besides artificial intelligence and chatbots, right? Could you describe what an algorithm is? Because some of the people watching won't know.
So an algorithm is nothing more than a mathematical formula. So y is equal to a plus mb, like
A formula.
just exactly.
Okay. So we create formulas to better understand the linkages between things.
Perfect. So the most basic thing you wouldn't in algebra would be regression. So think of regression, but 100,000 times way more sophisticated. That's deep learning and machine learning.
Okay. So this isn't deep learning, machine learning. Right?
There is machine learning built
There's
into
machine
this.
learning in this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what happens is, this is not a rule-based engine where you basically have to type it this way. There's natural language processing. The natural language processor removes features. Those features basically help the computer understand what's going on, and the machine learning will then categorize it and actually give you a reply.
For those people watching already and says, this might be technical, I'm going to click on, let me tell you something. I worked in the back office at a bank for years. I'm also a finance guy. And all we did was rules-based engines. Every IT system I worked with was rules-based. If A happens, then B, or maybe C, if it's raining on a Tuesday, right?
Yep.
And that is dumb. It's what's called dumb technology.
Yeah.
So only a certain set of things can happen, and the computer stops and says, I broke. And that means you have to have people in the process. Because every time it breaks, the back office has to figure out what broke and how can I get this running again.
Perfect.
And all these exceptions happen. So this is actually outside that process. It's not hard rules in that sense.
This is one step ahead of that. Are we already where it can understand everything? Absolutely not. We're some way away from basically them taking over the world. But we are at a stage where it can do a lot more than just basically you have to type the text and it's just a string match, or it's basically just text to text that's being matched. It's actually being able to understand context. It's being able to understand what you're trying to say in multiple different ways. Because
People
of
get
patterns.
nervous about that because as soon as they hear the computer can learn, they're scared of it, right? Because they don't understand it, they get fearful about it. So explain it in more plain English, like if you type in the one you just did,
Yeah.
right? Please block this for me.
Yeah.
What did it learn? What is it learning actually?
Maybe it's a better example if you ask, what if you type in a question, the computer cannot answer, what happens then?
Yeah.
So actually that's one of the things that has really come up with all of our client discussions, because obviously as a bank, as a financial company, you want to know what the bot is going to do
Yeah.
if the question is not answered. So for that actually we run a sentiment analysis. So if you are showing some kind of frustration or you're showing some kind of anger, you say stuff like, I don't like this service, our bot right away says to you that, okay, let me connect you with an agent, and we can then do an API call and actually connect to a live agent.
So we think that just saying that I'm sorry I cannot do this for you is a very poor experience for a consumer,
Yes, yeah.
because at the end of the day, consumer does not care if it's a bot or if it's a person. What he wants is an instant reply.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for today. So what we do is whatever we can answer, and that's about 60% of retail banking queries,
Can or cannot?
Can.
Okay.
we reply in 3.5 seconds. What we cannot, we give a response, hey guys, just give me a second, let me get an answer for you. In that much time, what it does is it sends it to a Zendesk agent or whichever platform you're using to actually do customer service, and the customer service agent actually replies.
So in India, you've got a call center on basically
So-
24/7.
We do not have a
Yeah.
call
You will.
center. What we do is we basically provide the platform. And let's say you're a UBS and you already have a call center, we integrate the two. We basically say that, can we reduce the load of the basic queries that people are asking, and can we let the call center actually reply to things that are a lot more difficult, a lot more complicated?
Because that's, even though it's maybe 40% or less of the traffic to a bank, that's an enormous intangible, like that number,
Absolutely.
we have fail rates of less than 1%, let's say, or we pride ourselves in that. So how do you get people comfortable as customers to get used to a 40% fail rate and that the backup system works well? What's the
Think about it. So even if you have a 1% fail rate, the amount of time to actually reach a customer is still significant, or at least it's basically, let's say, 50 seconds, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. What this does is it either gives you a reply in 3.5 seconds, or it basically goes to that agent who's anyways going to give you that reply in the same amount of time. Actually lesser, because now there's lesser wait time, because lesser number of queries that agent needs to answer to.
And training to the call center then of the bank you've integrated with, is it hard?
So we actually give you a plug-and-play system. We will create the entire thing. So when you basically start on this, it's already ready to go. We do the API integrations for you, the entire thing. We don't just give you the platform to basically put in. We will do the implementation, and we'll allow you to basically then just
Yeah, I mean like the
incrementally
call center
improve it.
process, that's humans then. Like how much training did they need?
So we actually have a customized dashboard. So through the dashboard, we give the chat transcripts and all of that. And in terms of training the system per se, that is something we specialize in.
But I think what you're saying is, how if the guy at the call desk agent needs to reply to this, how do you train him?
Yeah, I'm just doing this agile. I want to understand the hardest thing first, where
Sure,
I'll have the biggest objection
Sure.
in a bank.
So
Right?
think about this. I'm the call center agent. What's happened to them? Like that query has just come to me. Plus basically the dashboard is showing the last 10 things that the person asked. So I know what the conversation was. all I need to do, which is what I was doing even before this, is reply to the query I can see in front of me based on the last 10 queries.
Okay,
There's
so
nothing that's
call
changed.
center agent gets click, ring, ring, someone's trying to, the history's there, he sees credit card, block it please, you idiot computer, you didn't work, why is this? It routed to him and he says, hey, I see you're trying to block your credit card. The reason it didn't work is because you're out of country and I need to verify whatever. So there's a backup system that then kicks in.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay, that works for me. What do you think about that? You've seen a lot of
So the main use case you're working with is customer service, right?
We think there's huge opportunity in sales as well, but it's just that because of the regulations, a lot of the people have been slightly conservative on going on the sales front. So the problem with today's regulations in sales is that if you cannot show a clear map of how you recommended a particular product to the consumer, you cannot actually recommend it. Like, it's against the rules of FCA. So that's why on the sales side, I think it's better to have a rule-based engine where you can actually show what you're doing. But on the consumer side, you can actually play and actually go one step further.
And on which channel are you working with? Are you working with the channels of your partner, or are you working with Facebook or WeChat or?
So we're a B2B solution. We're happy to basically put this on any platform. We've put it on Slack, Facebook, on Zendesk, on we're looking at putting it on Livebank. We're looking at basically putting it where the consumers need it and where exactly the customer wants to actually reach that channel.
Okay. Another question, I met already a couple of startups with the same value proposition. Your competitors, you might be aware of them. What's different about your company? Why would?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Two reasons. So one, most of the startups, even if they've started down this game, we have about 3.5 million data points to actually start this off because we've already done 3 pilots. In the machine learning game, data is king.
Not the bank names, but like
Two
retail banks.
Indian retail banks,
Okay.
one French bank, and now we're just starting off with the UK.
And they would allow you to use their data.
The pilot data, we basically took permission to actually use.
Okay,
Only the
so
pilot
you
data.
can use that data for another bank.
Correct. No, but that's only for the pilot. Once you go live, when it's actual customers, you can't use it.
Let me tell you, there's an asset and a liability here.
Yeah.
For me, I'm in a wealth business that's global. Okay, so we have many hundreds of languages we cover, whatever, but there's a couple of core languages. And the blockers are in the retail banking environment. The retail banks are not really ready for this, where I'm coming from. They're a little bit more like, let's wait and see, let's be a semi-fast follower. But from a wealth context, then that's an asset because I can go test something with it, but I don't know what the wealth content is. Like, we've chatted about it a lot. What would you chat about in wealth? That's more the customer sales process, right? But if you're not trying to sell a financial instrument, because most of a wealth business isn't trying to sell financial products, it's relationship, it's
Right.
behavioral finance.
Yep.
So it's more like, hey, how's the life going? Has anything big changed? You strategically, you're still heavy over here, and you've got a lot of real estate, therefore I advise you this. How far are we away from that kind of body? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
Let me put it this way. We can technically do it, but the FCA won't allow you to do it right now. Because if you're recommending something, if it is based on neural networks and looking at what exactly previous people were doing, creating patterns from that, right now people see it as too risky because you cannot actually map out how exactly did you go from point A to point B. So if you basically create rules around that, you can do that even today in terms of behavior and basically say that, okay, fine, for a particular age, this should be the asset allocation, so these are the steps, these are the rules that we're going to follow. You can absolutely do that today, not tomorrow, not 1 year from now.
So have you talked to them in their sandbox modus?
So
Any of the regulators?
we spoke to the FCA. The FCA was luckily at Startup Bootcamp where we met them. So we've spoken about it. I think there's still some time to go before neural networks can actually give recommendations. So they can already start trading. So neural networks, deep learning, algorithms are already trading. But giving a recommendation to a client is a whole different.
Isn't that funny?
It
Yeah,
is.
it
That's
is.
the cart
It is
before the
very
horse.
funny.
You can execute based on
Exactly.
an algo in a dark pool today, legally,
Yes.
but you can't actually say to a client, I think you're overweighted in equities.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm not a regular, it seems backwards to me.
So,
So we gotta move on that.
Yep.
Anyone else, like people in Singapore, or have you talked with other places which seem moving faster, Hong Kong?
We've honestly been focused on Europe, so the rules are pretty much the same throughout Europe. The US is also very similar when it comes to rules. We've just started exploring that.
But we have been focused on retail banking so far.
So investment banking is something that's very interesting, and I think some things that we've already started looking at doing and are in investment banking. Many times you need to do very simple things, like it can be as stupid as basically you forgot your password and you just need that to be reset
Basics
and
of
like
banking or any business.
exactly,
Log
or
in
you just
credentials, whatever.
or you need to understand that what exactly is your brokerage cost going to be if you do X amount of trading. Those questions that you require simple answers to, I think that is a great use case to start off with to show the power. The next part, which is actually the recommendation side, we can already do patterns, but strict patterns, not neural network patterns. But
Alright, so what about a facts-based? Because bankers love numbers and they
Yep.
love past numbers,
Yep.
right? And terrified of future numbers. So
Yep.
past numbers, what can you ask? What did I actually spend on you this year?
Yeah.
What did
Categorization.
what did emerging markets equities contribute to my portfolio since you recommended them to me?
you can do all of that.
You can do things that are past-looking and facts-based.
Exactly.
Okay, that would be interesting to learn about as one space.
Another question about UX-wise, all the different channels allow you to interact with the chatbot in different ways, like buttons, images, videos. Are you already able to, because sometimes it's faster to click a button rather than type in something like block my credit card. If I would have like troubleshooting credit card, my card got blocked, and then can you handle buttons or?
So if you actually see the UI, we have actually recommendations based on your previous question.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
Okay.
what we believe is that chatbots don't necessarily just need to be text.
Yeah.
Quite to the contrary, we saw that once we put buttons, our interactions and engagement
Yeah,
increased by 40%.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's very smart to add those buttons, and if you can make them dynamic, that's when they really start becoming
in
important.
the same direction as Google Halo and
Absolutely. Very, very similar. Exactly.
You know what? Did you talk with what was the name of the company we talked to in Zurich?
Last Mile.
Was it Last Mile or was it the other one?
Which one?
Portuguese guys. There's a company who's making this link. So I asked it, tell me what I paid in fees last year, and it said no data found.
Because there are no fees that you probably pay. You need to remember that this is linked to a particular bank account.
Yeah.
So in that bank account, if basically there were fees, it would count. If there weren't, it would.
So actually
James, yeah.
So
We can
another
try.
API call we can make, like you can make another API call if you'd like, for example, I don't
How
know,
much?
Around
how much
what?
money do I have?
Or how much did I
Or-
spend last month, or how much? Where did I spend more than 1,000 rupees?
Yeah,
it's
this
all
one.
in. It's an Indian account.
currency now.
So how much? Where did I spend more than 1,000 rupees, or 5,000, 10,000?
Okay.
Yeah,
So standard retail questions we can ask. I mean, for us, we'd
That's
have
what
to build a
it's been
different
trained
POC.
for.
Exactly.
A different use case around, well, either it has to be pre-marketing stuff, which is not product recommendation, like we want to learn what they're asking about, or what they wouldn't ask a banker, but they would ask this thing.
Right.
Because there's an opportunity here. That they'll ask more openly because they know someone's not trying to sell them something.
Correct.
Right? So they might ask about, well, actually tell me what is emerging equities and how can I learn about it or whatever. And maybe there's other use cases we can think of where you can
Yeah.
Absolutely.
make a test case. So,
Yeah.
all right. Any other tech questions or business questions?
No. Good.
It gives me a good overview. If you had one more thing to say to the world in terms of where this is all going, tell the world. Where is EnterpriseBot going, and what do you think is going to happen in banking under this?
I think the world's about to change. And in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to be talking to bots as if they're our friends. So whether you hate it, you like it, we, I think, all need to be ready and understand what that really means. And trust me when I say this, it's going to be amazing.
I agree with you completely. What do you think?
I think it's amazing what we've achieved so far already. Like when I'm in meeting all of these people from all these awesome banks and they ask about certain questions, it's amazing what it can already do for you. So when you say something like, I've lost my credit card, it doesn't just say, I'll block it for you. It says, do you also want a replacement card? So it's
Aw, I
very,
thought it was
very-
cool. We put that in Alexa. We can block a credit card. We thought we were so cool.
Yeah.
You give them a replacement.
Yep.
All right. We're going back to recode. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That's us looking at bots and AI for real. You can kind of see the real state of stuff. I'm really impressed with it. I think it's really good. So let's talk further offline about how we try
Awesome.
POC. Thank you.
Cool.
So let's take some questions. I like questions. What do you guys got?